welcome Sriraman Tyagarajan for this podcast. This is a kind of a podcast where I was always waiting for. There are GDs in terms of ML, there are GDs in terms of lot of other things. Like I've seen GDs because they were very good in Firebase. There are a lot of things which can happen when you're in GD. But I'm also here doing a podcast with a person who has built the startup just like nurturing us. In order to educate ourselves, we need lot of resources. Trust me, there is nobody else apart from Sriraman sir for this podcast who is going to educate you all on building a startup, right way of educating ourselves. And he has also been that cent percentile 4.0 in the CGPA basis of his MBA. So I think probably we are going to demystify a lot regarding the MBA and all the things. Whether you join IIM Bangalore, IIM Ahmedabad, it doesn't mind people. You need to build yourself as that right professional. So here we are trying to demystify how to be that right professional with Sriraman. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for giving me this podcast. And it's an honor to have you on my podcast also.
Hi, Vishwas. My pleasure too. I would request you to just call me by name and drop the sir unless the Queen of England grants
Writes
me the
you.
title. Yeah. So
Yep.
stick with my name.
Okay, Sriram, let's just start with this. We have heard a lot of this trauma that is going on behind. We are not being educated in a proper way. Of course, we are from the tier three colleges. We won't get that sort of an education and things like that. I just want you to just say your journey as a student, your journey as a professional right now, basically your state of mind right now, and also guide us for how can we get that right education, because it's not the college which gives us that education, it's also that overall build that we just gather from the people that we are meeting, also the people we are mingling with. So it's all about your state of the mind right now in terms of educating us, and also in terms of your state of the mind as an entrepreneur.
Yeah. So we can keep blaming the education system, right? But it's not going to help. One thing you realize in your whether you're starting up or you're joining a job is all the things you learned in college, school, etc. was just some kind of preparatory that teaches you the basics. But when you join any company, they have their own training for you. They kind of have an onboarding process for you, and you seem to realize that why did I study history? Why did I study strength of materials? Why did I study this? Whatever you studied, right? The idea is, to expose you to various subjects, and eventually you might pick a career, right? You do not know what you will exactly turn out to be when you're in your 10th standard, or even in your 12th, or even when you're studying your engineering. You might turn out to be a different professional, right? So if you can just keep your curious mind and observe all the things that's being taught to you, and just focus on learning instead of scoring the marks, etc., right? That's definitely going to help you, right? And I think one good way to look at your career is like,
Yes.
think of your career as a capital T, right? So there is horizontally you can learn various some art, some math, some science, some social studies, some any subject, right? But think of the stem of the T as the depth or the vertical that you want to specialize in. So you want to be a programmer, dabble around different concepts of programming, maybe some front end, some back end, but you have to be good in one particular language to be an excellent programmer, right? So this applies for any subject. So if you were to look at your career planning in this capital T fashion, I'm going to learn a bit of everything, but I'm going to pick one subject or one area or one language I'm going to be the expert in. That is going to help you. It doesn't matter whether your college is top tier or bottom tier. It doesn't matter. It's up to you to learn.
No, but like, what's the state of mind that you have today when you are educating yourself? Of course, when you're an entrepreneur, you need to educate yourself at every given point of time. You can't say like, I've built this company to this far, and I think probably it's going to give me profits overnight. It's impossible to do that. What's your state of mind right now as an entrepreneur?
Uh, Look, it's a technology driven startup. It's a tech company, and I believe that technology changes every time you refresh the browser. right? So that's the speed at which technology is changing, and you kind of have to adopt to it. So learning is never complete. uh, I'm very confident to say that I'm very curious person. I like to learn new things. In fact, without an engineering degree, I'm running a software company so far, right? That's surely because of the, wanting to learn more, the ability to learn more, curious. And of course there are fantastic colleagues, co-founder who's an engineer. There's a whole team who are helping me in this journey, right? But I believe in, staying up to date and learning, knowing things that are completely relevant to my field of work, just to stay relevant, you know. So learning is never complete, and I believe I'm a student for life.
So because your degree doesn't match up with any of the things that you're doing. You are now the CEO of Agreya Technologies. You are now the CEO of Avas.com. Of course, Agreya means that there is no state of body or something. There's no physical state now. That's where the voice comes in. And yes, so let me just ask you that one thing. What's the impactful move that really happened when you were building your own startup? That means like thinking about that right product to get to the market, like even visiting that right interview, like you want to conduct an interview. What was that experience? What was that one impactful move that made you like, yes, I'm going to be a founder of a startup? Two, actually, to be frankly saying.
Right, two products, multiple products, Vishwas, but the company is one, Agri Technologies. Look, entrepreneurship is an incurable disease. You can get rid of the symptoms often, but the disease stays with you, the condition stays with you. Okay, my dad was an entrepreneur for his life. I've helped him run family business for a few years. I always knew the taste of freedom, and I think one of my friend tweeted someday, once you know the taste of freedom, you're unemployable, right? So once you know what life can be when you're an entrepreneur, I don't think you will enjoy a job as much, to do what is being told to you and just stop there, right? So I always was an entrepreneur. I started my first venture when I was 18, or even younger, helping dad. Before that, I have had small one person company running, even when I was studying. Before that, through my college, I always were running, doing something on the side, so I've done my part of working here and there, 4 5 years, but that was sheerly again for learning. When I wanted to learn more about digital marketing, I just picked up a job, stayed on it for some years so that I could sharpen my skills in the digital marketing, and then I moved out of it, right? So I always knew I'm cut out to be, or I'm unfit to be an employee, but more fit to be a entrepreneur, whether it's win or lose, loss or gain. And I really value the freedom that it brings to me. I'm free to do things that are, I believe that makes a difference. And of course, learning new things, that is the biggest driver, Vishwas.
Yeah, no, journey as in GD is something which is more unique because not all the people make that attempt to just be the GD. Also, even though I run a lot of community events and things like that, people really say that how much do you earn from it? Like I don't do it for earning, I just do it for my satisfaction. So what's that satisfaction that you have got just by being that GD? It's a different domain. I know that it's a different domain. Nobody chooses that. Like, what's the thrill of being the GDE and your journey so far in terms of building community and also teaching in community also?
Right. Uh, to teach is to learn twice. I did not want it to be a GD, right? GD is a title that's given to you, right? So I started the community called the Google Business Group, GBG Mumbai, in 2013. It kind of grew to more than 5,000 people. And then I was organizing community events because I get to learn more, while I'm sharing. We invite guest speakers, we invite Googlers, we do all this. I was the one who was learning more as much as the community was also learning with us, right? And of course, when the GD program came, there was a nomination for marketing, and I think one Googler referred my name, and I was part of it. So, life before and after GDE for me was a bit of the same, because all I was doing, I was continuing to doing the same thing. I used to mentor startups before I do it now. I used to be part of Google Launchpad, then I'm still part of Google Launchpad. I used to run GBG. With pandemic, it's a little slow, or it's not happening so much, but the idea is the same, right? So GD is not a title you aspire to, or it's not you earn. You keep doing good job, and they call those people, or they recognize those people as GD. That's it. So it's just a recognition for the work you're doing, as opposed to a job title you earn.
There are a lot of people who are really behind it because there might be some perks of it, like pros of it. So let me just get it. But that just doing the selflessness and just going there, just organizing those events, I think probably that satisfaction is much more bigger than being a GDE. Like making sure that we stay motivated over the course of time, because when you start a startup, your family might say kuch karega. Or uske baad, like if something goes wrong in the same startup, they're like, just search for a job. I think probably this is not working out for you. There's a way in which Indian people are not being that motivated. Means I'm saying in terms of family, like they might not get motivated. Or tomorrow, if I go out as a person who wants to build a startup, I think probably I might get demotivated. Like, what's the tips and the tricks to stay motivated over the course of time? Like to have that sustainable motivation.
Very, very simple. First, before that, let me disagree that India is not conducive for startup. You are looking at it like only tech companies qualify as entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is very different. Startup is different. Two separate words. You step out of your home. Just figure out from who did you buy your last groceries, from who did you buy your last fruits and vegetables, from who did you buy anything, right? They're all entrepreneurs out there. The petty shop next to you is an entrepreneur. The old grandma selling flowers in front of a temple she's an entrepreneur, man. Vegetable seller is an entrepreneur. So worldwide, entrepreneurship is the number one source of employment. A startup, of course, has a fancy, sexy term to it. It's like cool stuff. That's very different, right? But whatever is your calling, for example, you could set up a real estate office, show homes to people, connect them, make some money. That is still a startup. I mean, that's a entrepreneurial venture. Maybe it's not called startup, but if you're building a real estate software and want to scale it up, maybe that's it. That's a startup, right? Either ways, entrepreneurship, if you want to pursue it, right, any business, tech startup or otherwise, the one question that you very much ask, like, I will get demotivated from others, or others may not support me. That is the very reason you should not be worrying about, right? You should not have that fear of ridicule, lo kya kahega, or others, because do realize, man, you are not doing it for others. If you are think, okay, I'll be a startup founder, it is cool, others will think I'm cool, then please don't even start. It's a waste of time for you and for your family and your friends and everyone else who is working with you, right? You do it because you saw some big problem to be solved, you are able to work towards it, or you saw a big opportunity, you are good at it and you jump towards it. Whatever the reason, it should be strongly intrinsic, internal motivation for you. And when you are focused on that, I don't think it matters what others tell you, right? So think of it as a significant other, boyfriend or a girlfriend. You like that person likes you, end of story. Neighbor doesn't like you, some your friend thinks the other person is not good enough, cute enough, none of your problem. You like that person, the other person likes you, you are a good couple. That's it. So think of it like that.
Let's just come back to that same, Sharma ji ka beta wala scene. Like, if he is doing that, we also try to do that and things like that. Like, let's just say it out to the world. Are we really figuring out the ways and that motivation to rightly do an MBA? Because MBA is something like, it was a golden ticket once upon a time, where if you do an MBA, you're good enough to get a job somewhere. Like, I want to ask you, like, are we really making that right decision to do an MBA, or else, like, is it just for the fun of doing an MBA?
MBA does only one thing. It trains you to be a middle level manager, a good one at that. If you study the courses seriously, and if you take all the subjects seriously and fully involved with faculty, etc., it will prepare you to be a very, very good middle level manager. Okay. What does a middle level manager mean? It sets you apart from an entry level person who has not done a management program. And of course, you are slightly getting a head start, right? Maybe you will join as an assistant manager somewhere instead of an executive, perhaps, right? So the 2 3 years you go ahead in your career. That's all it does. It doesn't do anything. And it prepares you zero to be an entrepreneur. MBA is not about entrepreneurship. MBA is about managing, planning, working with different people, keeping your priorities, objectives clear, so on and so on, right? So that's it. That's what it does. It helps you work better or get work better. Those are the two things it does. Now, you want to do an MBA for a good job, sure, do it. And if you want but I would recommend that you figure out the job that you want in the first place, then pick the right college, right course for it, instead of putting the burden on the college and the job saying, I will go join this college, let them figure out, the placement committee will figure out. I think that's leaving your entire life to chance and some second year student who's in charge of the placement committee. So you are playing lottery with your life. If you get good, good, but if you draw the wrong lottery, I think you'll be stuck in a wrong job for first 2 3 years. Your career may be shaped in that industry. You may not even like it, and then things are messy. Right? So don't expect anything from your college, your course, and stuff like that. Right? Man enough. I say it in a general neutral term. Take charge of your own life. Do plan it out a bit, and then prepare and take the right courses for it. So simple as that.
Yeah, because there's HR, there is operations, there is finance, there is marketing. Of course, it ends for some people there, but for other folks, it's like consultancy, or else it's like general management. There are other fields where they can hop into even with an MBA degree. Like you can do a pseudo specialization. You can say that probably you might be studying MBA in marketing, but you can go for but you can do the pseudo specialization and do call yourself as an MBA in finance. It can happen. Like I want to ask you this one question: how to rightly study in an MBA? It's not like MBA just going in an MBA 365 into 2 days, like 1 year, just start studying and afterwards have a pre-placement offer, and afterwards just go on just passing or something. I think probably we have just lost that essence of, because I've met a lot of MBAs who told me that horrifying stories of staying late night, sleeping in the office, and things like that. I just want to ask you this one question: are we studying the MBA in a right fashion, and how to study MBA in a right fashion? Because you're a 4.0 in an MBA, so I think probably your words will be taken more seriously than any person. I think so, because padaku bache hai na.
Right. Vishwas, I personally don't believe in dual specialization. Very, very strong. It's hard enough to be good in one thing. Imagine trying to be good in two things. It's not going to work out that way. How do you mix HR and finance, man? Those two things don't even meet each other in the eye. HR is dealing with people, resources, and so on. Finance is number crunching and having a sharp brain for numbers and planning. How do you do study both of this together and be expert in both of this together? Have you ever seen CFO in a organization also as a head of human resources? Like, do they do those roles? Have you seen a CMO who's also a CFO in any company? Do they even exist in reality? Right? They are different people. They have different skill set, right? So again, it's all happening. People working late and sleeping in the office is happening because they didn't pick the job picked them, right? So they're struggling to cope up with it. They're struggling to get it done in the right time. Yes, all of us do work extra hours. It's no big deal in this era. But if that is the way of your life, then I think you should be looking for a different job where you naturally fit in, right? Not put 4 hours extra every day. That's really a sad way to look at it. Again, MBA is a very, very generic tool. uh, think of it like a laptop, right? What can you do with laptop? Use your laptop better than mine. There is no end to it, right? But it's, think of it as a tool, right? You use it to play video games. I use it to maybe use it to write a book. It's up to us. Maybe you even that's not wrong. For example, let's say you are a good gamer, right, and you will set up your Twitch or your YouTube channel and you will stream games all day long. You will build like 2 million subscribers, monetize their time and attention. Great for you, man. That's how you are using your laptop, right? Somebody from the outside will say, "ये game खेलते रहते हैं पूरा दिन, boss. I'm the best gamer in the world." You know that. Let's say you play Minecraft and Microsoft comes to you saying, "Hey, you are one of the top influencer of Minecraft. We are willing to sponsor you." Sure, your YouTube channel is now sponsored by Microsoft, right? That's your way of using your laptop, right? And let's say I have nothing to do with games. I'm a finance person. I have Excel, I have SPSS, I have this, I have that, I have softwares running on those number crunching, and I'm doing financial modeling and so on. I use my laptop for that. I'm good at this. Simple, right? You get the logic. MBA is very, very generic. It is up to you to make what you would out of it. It's not specialized, or it's not meant to kind of give you the promise of a job and a good life. No college can do that, man. It's up to you, right? So what is the right way to study MBA? It's about, like I said, it's learning to be a good manager, learning to work well with others, get things done, right? So that's what it is about. And one specialization is hard enough, forget dual. I mean, that's just a joke.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But like, engineers, we are sticking on to one specialization. We are just sticking on to like, if we are in EC, we go back to the embedded system and we solder things up. That's how we invent things. Like, I want to get to know what's your view on engineers and their value in invention, because you are nowhere related to any of the engineering aspects because your degrees doesn't match up. I'm not commenting on that, but like, you have built some impactful products right now. I think probably Agrea is a firm which has given out lot of products out there for the world. So I just want you to comment on like, what's the value of invention from an engineer tomorrow? Like, how should we really value the breakthroughs that we are seeing today, and how we should learn and how we should improvise and invent new things? That's my question.
Yeah, I have huge love and respect for engineers. They make the world go around, right? Everything that comes out, every innovation, invention or innovation, however you call it, comes from engineers across, right? Electricity, the person who invented the wheel, to automobile, to electricity, to aircraft, to chips and technology and software. Yeah, so engineers are the building blocks of this whole world, and there is huge respect I have for them. I always wish I could be one. Like till 12th, I studied science, but I realized I'm more of a people person, idea person, than a kind of a disciplined person, like an engineer who would specialize in one thing and excel at it. I'm a little bit of a generalist in that sense, right? So yeah, engineers are, like I said, are the ones who are building the world, and maybe beyond now. Like who knows? We could be in Mars in 20 years from now.
No, but like, how is people perception over the technology right now? Because you work closely with Alexa, Google Assistant somehow, because your products are very closely related to them. And also, and recently, not too recently, I think you imparted Shah Rukh Khan's voice in the Google Assistant. The Zeros promotion happened through that also. But like, I just want to ask you this one question, like, how is people's perception over the technology today? Because everything is accessible, everybody is a tech savvy right now. So how is people's perception towards the invention, and are we still valuing the invention right now?
Yeah, which was very tricky question, and it depends. When you say people's perception towards technology, right? It depends. For example, let's say you're a call center agent, and the company employed AI to automate the calls. Your perception of technology is it's taking away your job. Or let's say you're assembly line worker in China or anywhere, and technologies, robots are now assembling those. You are out of job. You are not a big fan of technology anymore. You are gonna dislike it, right? But let's say you are a farmer short of labor, and then you buy a tractor or any agriculture technology that is helping you, then you are going to be in love with technology, right? Or if you're an engineer building it, creating patents and getting royalties, and you are going to be loving technology. And for consumer, it means only one thing: convenience. Any new technology is about convenience, right? Across IT or any technology. It could be a uh, better vacuum cleaner that is quiet and doing a better job, right? Even that's technology. So it depends on who you ask about how they perceive technology. But I do feel that everyone should embrace it. Like I said, if it's coming for your job, then you better prepare it, because it is going to happen, right, for all of us. How do we, we are not competing with machines in that sense. We are competing with each other. You and like every other person is competing, and machines makes our efforts less. For that, we want to do things faster, better, cheaper. So we use machines in any way, right? Machines are product of technology, right? So so you need to, one way or the other, look at how you can embrace technology, right? What you can do best with it, how to push humanity forward instead of being scared. I'm just saying this from the point of view, if anyone is like kind of thinking technology as an antisocial element, right? But yeah, for engineers, there's no limit. You are limited by your imagination in what can be done. And I mean, I'm just very happy and blessed that I'm CEO of a tech startup, man. So
Yeah, but like I just want to ask you this last question. What's the source of gyan for you? Like books, papers, or else any blog sites that you really want people to just visit it, just get the amount of knowledge that is packed there. Sometimes I feel like gold pada hua hai, yeah. Like there is gold here, nobody is seeing it. Like, are there any sources that you really want people to just go on, just grab this online site, just grab this book in your hand, just start studying? You will find a new person out of you after reading it. Like any
right.
sources of gyan?
I'll tell you, it's blunt, but it is truth. The sources of inspiration and gyan for me are other humans, man. It's our own behavior, our society, our culture. I I draw a great deal of inspiration, ideas, and learnings from people, right? And it could be, for example, I follow diverse set of people on Twitter, right? Someone from technology, someone from healthcare, someone from arts, someone from news, someone from politics, just to see how a different person behaves. For example, this clubhouse is all the rage now, and there are clubhouse sessions where they are reciting Hanuman Chalisa. This is mostly NRI groups. That is a source of learning for me. That look, when you're away from home, you are more culturally inclined than when you are here, right? And again, another clubhouse example is, it seems so there are a lot of Malayalam or Malayali driven communications happening there, and many people are not happy about it. It's not about what I feel happy or sad about it. It's happening, and it's a great learning that look, uh, they are being used in a very different way, right? In a very unique way. I wouldn't even say it different, right? And it's a good social observation. And read everyday newspapers, man. I read business newspapers. Some of them, those terms I don't understand. Some of those businesses I don't understand. They're talking about some steel company, cement company, what is going on. But again, it's a great source of knowledge, right? You realize how things are interconnected, how one thing leads to other thing leads to other. I think that this theorem was validated to me. I think Steve Jobs took a calligraphy course, and then years later when he was in Apple, Mac was the only one that had beautiful typography and fonts, whereas other computers had very boring or very regular typewriter looking fonts. And Apple stands for design and creativity, and we know the rest, right? So the calligraphy course he took some years ago, 20 years ago, comes in to help him when he's building a company, right? So source of gyan, source of inspiration is just around you, from other human beings. It's definitely from society in general. Like I'll give you one more. Imagine you're an 18-year-old boy or a girl. You bring a girlfriend or boyfriend to your home. In the US, your parents might give you privacy, saying, hey, leave them alone. But do you think you can do the same thing in India? It's going to be treated very differently. You're going to panic your parents, saying what is going on, right? That's culture, for example, right? I mean, in our college, Bill Clinton visited once, and people were calling him, "Hey, Bill." I was like, "Sure," In here, even if it's one local MLA, I don't think you call him by name. Even if it's a stranger, you don't call people by name. It's a lot of, somebody is called as a sir or G or something like that. We call it a CM sir or CMG or PMG or something like that, right? So that's culture again, right? You can learn a great deal of life lessons from other human beings, other society, other culture, and then you see all the pieces fitting together, right? So why do US homes have smart homes want there are more smart homes, more automation devices, right? Very simple. They live in suburban large homes. They're in here. You can afford a security guard who can do multiple things for you. If you live in a bungalow here, you apply a security guard, right? He will also walk the dog, he will collect the milk, he will collect the paper, he will collect the courier. That one security, where labor excess country, and that one person is doing all those things. You can't do that in the US, right? People can't afford labor to have a security guard in front of your villa all the time. So they have automation. They have a smart camera, they have a smart post box, they have a smart security alarm, they have a smart home hub, they have a camera in the door. They replace humans with technology. So, and one person does it, and one person invents it basis the needs they have seen, and it becomes a standard thing, right? Something as simple as the garage door. There's a device in car, you press that, your garage door opens, you park in, you walk into your home. We don't need such technology here. Again, there is a security guard who will open the door for you. You don't need a remote button to open the garage door for you, right? So gyan, inspiration, lessons, whatever, just look at people around you. Look at diverse set of people. Don't look at people who are exactly like you. Don't fall into that echo chamber. Just look at diverse set of people, and I'm sure you will learn more. You'll be inspired. You will even find out problems to be solved for your next startup. You never know.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for this amazing session. Because like probably because of podcast, I think probably I'm getting an access to meet a lot of people. I think I fall into a lot of other things which I really didn't wanted to do. Like I wanted to send them a mail, I would have sent them a wrong mail, or else something might have happened. I think everything has been a learning to me, and I think probably learning from every person. I think probably I have learned this by doing podcasts. I think it was a wonderful session. Thank you so much, because I'm not an MBA aspirant, but I do a lot of game theory and things like that. That's where MBA comes into my life. That's it. So I think this was an amazing session. I think probably 10 years later, if somebody wants to do an MBA, if they come and listen to this podcast, probably they're going to change their mind and do something else, which their work really asks for. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.
Most welcome, Vishwas. I thoroughly enjoyed being here. Thank you so much. All the people listening, wish you the best with your life.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.